The full moon on September the 17th aids as the integration point, helping us really integrate all the upgrades, all the shifts, all the light codes that were really incoming throughout this month so far up until this point, because September is a big energetic month. So much is happening. Each and every day you're receiving light codes and energetic upgrades to really help you transcend and elevate in your consciousness, really raising higher. And this full moon really aids as that integration point, helping really integrate all the upgrades that you have received so far. Think like that you're digesting all the upgrades that you received to really then also prepare you for that next big cosmic event that is then going to come the day after on the 18th, the lunar eclipse, which then opens the gateway, the 2-week gateway until October the 2nd with the solar eclipse. And then in between those 2 weeks, we also have the fall equinox. So there's a lot happening energetically, cosmically, to really assist us in elevating higher, really raising our consciousness, raising our frequency. So these daily energetic upgrades are going to continue, but they're going to intensify starting with the lunar eclipse the day after the full moon. So think of like this full moon as the integration point, really helping you to, for one, digest all that you have received up until this point, and then also to get you ready for that next big energetic period that we're then entering on the 18th. And in this video, I want to share with you the key things that I think you should know about this particular full moon on September the 17th, so you can really make the most out of what's really available for you right now. So you can also prepare yourself for what's to then come the second half of this month. So let's dive right in with the very first key thing that I want you to know is that this is truly that integration point, okay? This is really important to know. This full moon will give you the time and space to really integrate, to digest everything that you have experienced up until this point throughout this month. Because anytime you are growing, anytime you're ascending, there's a time of receiving upgrades, and then there's also a time of integration. And that's what's happening with this full moon. You need to take time out to really let it all settle, to integrate all these shifts, these changes, these energetic upgrades that you received. That is really the main focus of this full moon, because it is truly preparing you then for moving into the eclipse season and then the fall equinox. It's really preparing you. It's giving you that energetic break, so to speak, to prepare, to let it settle. Then the second thing I want you to know is that this full moon also brings a very grounding effect. Because like I said, this full moon is meant to help you integrate. So think of it like that. You just had a very big meal, and you still want to eat dessert. Well, but you kind of got to let it settle first, that big meal, before you can even eat the dessert, because you're already so full. And that's kind of like what I'm gathering with this full moon. This is what's going on right now, because the energies have been intense ever since September began. Each and every day you received energetic upgrades after an upgrade, after upgrade, after upgrade. You know, really downloading within your system, really upgrading you on an internal level, energetic level. And energies may have been quite challenging for you since September began. So this full moon really helps you really let it all settle. So there's this grounding effect. There's somewhat of a slower pace as well. So you really feel very slowed down with this full moon, because it's really meant to help you let it all settle, really digesting all these upgrades, these shifts, these changes, these downloads, these light codes, and all of that. It also helps you anchor in these upgrades, because it's one thing to really digest and then integrate, but you also want to really anchor it in, so you become that more awake and more empowered, more ascended you that you have grown into because of all these daily upgrades that you received. And by the way, I also want to mention there's also a light language activation coming out to really assist you with all that integration as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, I want to invite you, maybe subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever that video comes out. And if you're already a subscribed member of my community, then definitely stay tuned. It's coming out very, very soon to really assist you in this, what's really available right now with this full moon, because you do need to integrate. If you don't, and here this is a little bit of a, I don't want to say warning, but just maybe like a little note, maybe something to consider. If you don't take a pause now with this full moon and really integrate, it's going to be very energetically overwhelming when we're then moving into the eclipse season. Because like I said, the eclipse season then starts right the day after the full moon on the 18th with the lunar eclipse, and it goes all the way until October the 2nd with the solar eclipse. That's when the gateway then closes. But if you don't take time to let it all settle, if you just constantly just go, and don't make the time and space to let it really ground into your being, really anchor in, really integrate, it's going to be very energetically overwhelming for you as you then enter the eclipse gateway. So just be aware of that. And that's why, like I said, I have the light language activation also coming out to assist you with this integration, this really letting it all settle in, to really help you then prepare yourself for then this cosmic energetic period when we then move into the eclipse gateway. Then the third thing I want you to know is that deep inner release continues, because as you're really integrating all these shifts, all these changes, you're letting go of all that old stuff. You keep releasing all that old stuff because it needs to make room for the new light codes coming in. So throughout this month, you may actually realize that you're letting go of a lot of stuff. There's a lot of letting go that is happening, and it's being replaced right away by these energetic upgrades. So these energetic upgrades basically pushing out all that old stuff. So that's going to continue, because it's helping you prepare yourself, get ready for then the eclipse gateway, for these next level upgrades that are then coming in. And like I said, this eclipse gateway is going to be very intense. So there's going to be even more energetic upgrades and downloads and light codes that are coming in. So that's why this full moon is really the preparation for that pause before the storm, so to speak, right? It's not a storm, but it's definitely going to be very intense energetics that are coming in with this eclipse gateway. So whatever you can do to really prepare yourself to consciously and intentionally let go of all that old stuff that is no longer serving you, internally, externally, on all levels, energetically as well, letting go of all that stuff. And that's really what's going to continue. You may even notice that with this full moon, you also feel like somewhat of a release that is happening too, because like I said, it's making room for these new light codes then to come in as we're then entering the eclipse gateway. Then the fourth thing I want you to know is that make self-care your number one priority this full moon. A couple of days before, and then also especially on the full moon, make self-care your number one priority. Meaning, rest, recharge, align, detox, really move the energy. If you can maybe go to the gym or work out or go for a really brisk walk, you want to really be intentional about moving the energy out of your body. Maybe do some sort of a detox protocol or whatnot, maybe like a day or a couple of days, or just really detoxing. This is not just, internally, but then maybe also detoxing in your life, like, maybe a social media detox, for example, or spiritual detox, or whatever you can do, but really letting go of a lot of that old sluggish energy. Like I said, movement is really ideal because when you're doing exercises or walking or anything like that, maybe even yoga or stretching or anything like that, you want to really be intentional about to really, as you're doing the exercise, you're releasing the energy. It is so powerful when you exercise, when you move, when you whether it's lifting weights or going to the gym, yoga or anything like that. But you may want to put a little more intention behind it. Okay, I'm doing this now to release any stuck energy. But self-care is really going to be key this full moon to prepare you for that next energetic heightened period that we're moving into. Like I said, if you really don't take care of yourself, if you don't really let all these upgrades integrate before we then move into the eclipse season, it might be energetically quite overwhelming for you and quite challenging, because you haven't really integrated what you received so far, and then you're receiving the next big push of energetic upgrades. It can be a little overwhelming for your body. And also, when you're doing the self-care, you're giving your physical body the time to catch up, because with all these upgrades, you received upgrades to your spiritual body, your emotional, and your mental body. Well, the last thing that always catches up is the physical body. Everything happens on a spiritual, emotional, and mental level first, and then the physical body is the very last thing to catch up. So make self-care a high priority to give your body the time to catch up, for your body to really align to all these upgrades that you have received. Like, if you ever felt like you were so much further along spiritually, mentally, and even emotionally, but then physically you feel like you kind of like, hanging behind, That's kind of like what it is. And that's why making self-care a high priority, not just with this full moon, but actually any other time as well, but especially now with this full moon, it's going to be ideal to help your body really catch up, because like I said, new light codes are coming in, new upgrades are coming in, heightened upgrades are coming in with the eclipse gateway. So do your best to really take care of yourself and be selfish about that, okay? Be selfish about it. Make the time and space to take care of yourself, to rest, to recharge, to cleanse, to clear, to move the energy, and maybe even do some detox if you feel called to do that. Then the fifth and final piece here that I want you to know is that there's also that inner readiness that is building up, really preparing you. You may even have that feeling that something big is about to shift, something big is about to unfold. And if you're feeling that, then you're definitely in alignment with these energies. And if you don't, it's perfectly fine. You're still preparing yourself internally. But there's definitely that inner readiness that is then happening, that is unfolding, really getting you ready for entering the eclipse gateway, because that will be absolutely transformative. That will see you uplift and shift and raise in consciousness, raise in frequency like never before. So just know that this eclipse gateway is going to be absolutely powerful. And like I said, we also have the fall equinox in between as well. So there's a lot that is coming in to really help us transform and transcend into a higher way of being. So these are the key things that I want you to know about this full moon. I really hope you're excited about this, because there's a lot really coming in, and this full moon is really assisting us, preparing us for that in the next phase of ascension, of growth, of really stepping into our soul's higher calling, a higher path, and higher way of being. If you like this video so far, maybe do me a favor, hit the like button, maybe leave me a comment below. Let me know, are you feeling that already? Are you feeling more of that grounded kind of energy now leading into the full moon? Do you maybe already sense that something big is about to unfold? Leave me a comment below, let me know. I would love to know. But now the way you can make the most of this, I definitely already alert to some of those things, is make time and space for self-care. Make time and space for really integrating all that you have experienced up until this point, all the upgrades, all the light codes that were coming in. It is so very important. Also internally prepare yourself for that next big push of energetic upgrades that are not then coming in with the eclipse gateway, as we're then entering the eclipse gateway the day after the full moon. There's also, like, if you're preparing yourself internally, okay, I'm going to take some time out now to let it all settle, to really integrate it, to rest, to recharge, to then be open and ready for that next push to come. It's like that inner readiness needs to be a decision from you then as well, that, okay, now I prepare myself. Now I open myself up for what's to then come. Very important. Now also definitely stay tuned for the light language activation, because it will definitely help you. And also I want to invite you, because this month has been quite challenging, and you may have already heard me talk about Transcendence. My brand new membership is now finally open, doors open the beginning of the month, because I was guided to open the doors to Transcendence this month, because this month is really so deeply transformative. Now with Transcendence, you will get weekly live calls where you can get coaching, you can get mentoring, you can get guidance and even healing to really support you on this journey. So whatever you're experiencing, you can come on these calls, you can get the support, you can get the guidance, you can get the answers, you can get the mentoring from me to help you really make it through this. Now there's also going to be a workshop on the 21st of this month that is in alignment with the fall equinox, and it's all about unlocking your abundant and prosperous future, because that's really the key theme for the fall equinox. And we're going to be doing a lot of inner healing to really release any shadow aspects around money, around abundance, around prosperity, to really help you open yourself up to a new way of going about life, to really experience more abundance and prosperity in your life. So I want to invite you to maybe check out Transcendence and maybe join me and other members in these weekly calls, the monthly workshops, to really receive the support that you need on this journey, to really help you embrace all that is happening. So if that is of interest to you, I want to invite you, click the link below in the description, check out Transcendence, and maybe even consider joining us on this exciting new chapter of my life, of my journey, and also the journey of everyone else that is joining. So thank you so much for allowing me to share this video with you. I really hope that you got value out of this. Now also be sure to check out these two videos here. One is the lunar eclipse forecast, so you can get the guidance around that because it's right in alignment with that. And also 5 benefits of joining a spiritual community. And especially now in the time that we're in, it's definitely the right time to joining a spiritual community. So thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Until then, make an amazingly abundant and joyful day. Namaste.